Aloha and welcome to iTeach808 Empowering Hawaii's Teachers in Technology Conference, sponsored by the Augustine Educational Foundation and Sacred Hearts Academy, Honolulu. My name is Mana and I'll be facilitating the session. We're so honored to have Gosha Vanch join us today and share her expertise through a 45-minute presentation named Gamification to Increase Engagement. Please be aware that we'll be recording this session. If you don't like being recorded, you may consider turning off your camera during the session or reviewing the recordings afterwards. The recordings will be made available on YouTube and shared on iTeach808's website a week after this event. Without further ado, I'm turning it over to Gosha.
Hi, thank you so much for that kind introduction and for having me here. It's great to be part of this conference again. So yeah, this is gamification to increase engagement. And I have a pair deck that I'll ask you guys to join in just a moment. But before I do that, let me play around with this. Before I do that, I did want to introduce myself and welcome you all. So as you guys hopefully read in the introduction, this session is to kind of discuss some digital tools that we can use in all settings, whether you're teaching in person or hybrid or completely virtual, to help us intentionally structure our classroom to encourage that engagement and action in order to help students be more active in their learning and just have more fun doing it too and not be so passive. And we'll play some games together that hopefully you can experience what kind of games you'd like to play. So this little guy here does not look anything like me, but I thought it was still really cute. My name is, again, Malgorzata, but I go by Gosha. I presented last year at the iTeach808 conference, and I've been teaching science for the last 4 years. I'm currently teaching biology and chemistry at the high school level. Last year I taught anatomy, and I taught 8th grade in biology while I worked at Sacred Hearts. I've earned a Master's of Arts in Teaching through University of Portland, and I'm currently working for a Master's in biology. I like running, being outside, hiking, skiing now that I live out in Boulder, Colorado. And I did not create the slide set theme, and that's slide set theme is found on slidesgo.com. And I highly recommend you look at some of those slides because they're very beautiful. And again, I'd like to thank Sacred Hearts Academy for hosting this, as well as the Augustine Educational Foundation for funding this as well. So this is what we are going to do today. We are going to talk about what is gamification and think about why does it increase engagement. Then we'll go over some completely digital ways for us to engage our students through the power of games, as well as what we can do in hybrid settings and how can we encourage and incorporate movement into those games. And after that, we'll share some ideas. How can we put this into practice? So I hope you enjoy this presentation and all that we go through. So I'm going to press the next button. And if I can ask you to join through Pear Deck. Pear Deck is a slide presentation mechanism that is free. It does have some subscription options, which are really nice. But if you go to joinpd.com and enter in this code, you'll be able to see what students would see. Using Pear Deck isn't necessarily gamification, but it definitely can increase engagement, and you could make games out of it too if you'd like. So I invite you to please join this Pear Deck. Thank you. And we'll wait one more moment. So if you open a new tab in your own browser, you'll be able to see this screen and the presentation on your own computer browser as well. So not just through Zoom. Okay, looks like we're all connected here. Beautiful. All right. So I'll click continue. So I'd like you to type into the text box. You should see a text box. And share with me, what do you think gamification is? And um, why do you think it increases engagement? So I'm going to open up my teacher dashboard so I can see your responses, which, you'll be able to type in on the next slide. My mistake. There we go. Oh, yeah. So what do you think gamification is? And why do you think this is beneficial? You should be able to type this in a text box. I see we have some responses. All right, I see wonderful responses regarding gamification. Awesome. I'm going to see if I can try to share this screen or share our responses so you can know what Pear Deck looks like if that's something you'd be interested in. And as a warning, we will see some of your responses here. So new share. So here's what I see on my end as a teacher dashboard, and we have some great responses regarding gamification. Awesome. Great. Thank you for that. All right, so we'll switch back to that. So yes, very good. Those are some great examples of gamification. And this is very beneficial, just like one of you all wrote that it really engages students in learning. Humans have been playing games for thousands and thousands of years. And it's something that just drawn humans' attentions, and it's great to take that and use that to help students learn. So I'm a chemistry teacher, and in the chemistry world, Dmitry Mendeleev is very well known. Does anyone by chance know who Dmitry Mendeleev was? You can say out loud or write in the chat. No, tell me. I'll tell you guys. You all. So Dmitry Mendeleev, he was the person who actually created the periodic table. And Dmitry Mendeleev was not the best student, but he really liked playing card games. So what he did is he took all the known elements that we have, such as carbon, gold, hydrogen, oxygen, everything that they knew back in the day on cards, and he kind of organized them based off of the qualities that they have. And this created the framework of the periodic table, which is an incredible tool for noticing patterns, whether that is how reactive a substance is to where and how many electrons and where those electrons are found in that atomic structure. And through this use of game that he made up himself, he was able to create this wonderful structure that's so helpful for scientists today. And I think that just speaks so highly of the power of games in education and in academia. So when I found that this out when I was researching for this presentation, it just gave me so much joy, especially as a chemistry teacher. I was like, wow, that's so cool. So that's a tidbit of cool information for you all, and hopefully inspires us to increase some of that gamification. According to Juho Hamari, gamification is a strategic attempt to enhance systems, services, organizations, and activities to create similar experiences to those experienced when playing games, in order to motivate and engage users. And gamification is something that's becoming very popular, not just in education, but in other realms of business as well, which is really interesting to see, where in education, especially, we're learning, we're meeting those standards, we're meeting those educational goals, those objectives, those skills, but we're still having fun in the process. We're still enjoying ourselves, we're building relationships, and that whole process is very, very beneficial. So according to the Smithsonian Science Education website, they have, if you click on this link, if you hover your mouse over it, it will take you to the article that the Smithsonian team wrote. And they talk about some main benefits, and some main benefits I've seen include the engagement that we've talked about, but it can also be very inclusive, because neurodiverse learners, while may struggle to learn in the same ways as people who have different learning styles, it's been really interesting to see how specifically students with autism have been able to get a lot out of these gamification systems and these educational games, which is just so beautiful to hear, especially when students may struggle in other educational backgrounds. And beyond that, it also can be pretty universal, right? These games that we're going to talk about and play today don't necessarily have to stay in the classroom. They're games they can play at home. You can, whether it's because you're assigning them for homework or because they just like the game system, which I've seen students in their off time play games that they found with some of these websites we're going to be looking at today. In the chat box, maybe can you think of maybe any other benefits to gamification and share them with the group? All right, that's a-okay. We'll keep rolling. So next up, what are some tools or some completely digital tools? And these are great if your class goes digital, going virtual, or even if you're all in person, you can still play these, especially if you have a 1-to-1 ratio. So right now you should see in the pair deck, and I see that we have had some more people join us. So I'll put the join code up on the screen. I'd like you to share, what are some of your favorite digital games, education or otherwise? But if you just joined us, you can join the pair deck, so you can be able to put in your responses and share them with our virtual class here. All right, I see we've got 2 responses so far. We've got 3 responses. Ah, such great. Oh, yes. Awesome. I see lots of good things. I see SK, you wrote Words with Friends. Yes, that's such a fun game. Oh man, I haven't played that in a while. That's a good one. That's one you could probably turn into a game in your classroom. Ooh, Strange Horticulture. Oh, I love plants. And yes, Quizlet Live, classic. Kahoot as well. I think Kahoot has taken the whole world or country by storm with how successful that's been. So let's look at some other tools. So thank you for sharing those. And our favorite games, even if they're not education games, can really inspire us to make our own games and bring some of our own joys into the classroom when it comes to gaming. So what are some of my favorites? So what I've really liked using this past year and last year is I really have been enjoying to play the Blue-Kit game, and it became really popular. My roommate last year, she taught at a different school, but she saw like on TikTok or something that this game was getting very popular. And what I really like about Blue-Kit is not only can you find games that other teachers or people have made, but also if you've got a Quizlet set, like a Quizlet deck set already, you can just import all of those terms and the Blue-Kit will make the game for you, make a multiple choice game for you. So after that, I was like, oh, I'm not going back to Kahoot. That just takes so much time to just type in all the responses. And with this, it's just like a very seamless connection. But there's some other games that I've played with my students before that I want to do a lot more. Because while Blue-Kit's really fun, and there's lots of different game modes to keep it from getting very stagnant, like Kahoot can be kind of stagnant, at least for me. It feels like Kahoot can get kind of boring for a while because it's just multiple choice questions. When we look at Blue-Kit, there's some actual game aspects in there where you might be like a diner dash where you're gaining points, and with those points you're making food for customers, or you're trying to crack a code, or trying to win a track race. And as a past track coach at Sacred Hearts, I love that game too. And with some of the other options here, when we were talking about GimKit, that one also can transfer in that data pretty easily from Quizlet, from a spreadsheet. It has multiple game modes as well. Quizzes is also a great resource I've used, where I'll have worksheets for students and then they'll play a quizzes to kind of check their answers, which is really fun. And then my coworker this year introduced me to Bamboozle, which is almost like a Jeopardy type format where you can split half the class on one team, half the class on the other team, and you type in those questions into the program, and now you have an easy competitive Jeopardy type game, which my students have really enjoyed and got very competitive about as well. In just a moment, I'll have us vote for which game we would like to play. But before we do that, are there maybe some questions? I kind of went very quickly over some of these different resources and websites. And if you hover over the logos, it will take you to the website of that gamification, digital gamification. But if you have any questions or comments, feel free to say them right now or type them into the chat. All right. Well, I'm not getting any questions in the chat, but I do. Oh, thank you so much for writing that. Yes. So we'll check these out. So I briefly did an overview of these games, but you're really going to have the best experience knowing what's going on by playing them, right? So I'm going to click next here on this next slide, and it's asking you which game would you like to play first as a group. So I'm keeping my eye on the timer here. I know we've all had long work days, so we're gonna make sure that we end on time. So we'll hopefully be able to play 3 of these games, and I'll show you how to create a game or to find a game on this website. So if you have just joined us, I see we have more people here and you would like to vote, you can type in your vote either in the text box, but you can also join our pair deck, which is another way to almost gamify your PowerPoint presentations if you're doing some direct instruction. So if you go to joinpd.com and type in this code that I have projected here, you should be able to vote. All right, but alternatively, you can also vote in the chat. Let me close this. I'll put the join code in the chat, joinpd.com. And the join code. There we go. And I see we have some more students connected. Beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to look at our responses. It seems like awesome. We're tied. We're tied with Blukit and with Bamboozle. So we'll make sure to play both of those, and then we'll see if there's some other games we'd like to play. So if there's any of these that you'd like to play, you can write it in the chat if you're having a hard time joining our pair deck. So these are the options. And from here, I'm going to click on Blukit because that's one's my favorite. So you should hopefully be able to see the website. Okay, and I see Quizlet. Awesome. Okay, so you should be able to see the website now. And it says log in or sign up. And I'm going to click log in. You can just log in with a Gmail account. It's very easy. You just say you're an educator. And then you have a lot of options here. So you can see a lot of the Quizlets. I've made Quizlet decks, and then from there you can import all of that data to create a Blukit game, which is what I have here. You can see all of the different ones I've made for chemistry and biology. But what's cool is you can actually, if you click discover, you can actually choose any of these. So for right now, we can see we have sports is very popular right now. So is guess the city, as well as month and days. So we can do guess the Disney song. I'm not sure if, what kind of audio. Oh, so there are some Disney scenes, and you can see that you can type in different answers. So I'm going to click host now. You can play it solo. So if you send a link out to students, they can play it by themselves. But when I click host, I have lots of different game options, and I'm going to zoom in. And so if you get like the plus version of Blukit, which I don't, there's sometimes some seasonal games that pop up. So for example, here, I think it says something rush. I don't know what that is, but some of the favorites that I've had with my students include Cafe, which is like a diner dash, or Crypto Hack, where students try to guess each other's passwords. And it's very fun. But I would say the most popular with my students is Cafe, so we'll play that one. But you can see that there's other options as well. And when I click on Cafe, you can see that I can click host, but also I can click HW. HW stands for homework. So if I wanted to assign, let's say, a bunch of terms for homework for students, they would be able to do that at home, which is a really cool resource. And then you're able to see what kind of questions they got right and wrong, and so will the students. What's cool about Blukit, and I'll set the time limit here for 3 minutes to make sure we don't go over on time. Should hear some music from my screen, hopefully. But what's really cool about Blukit is that students are able to sign in with their Google account and keep track of their progress throughout the year, and based off of different games, and get different, I guess, little, I call them emojis, but they get little blue characters that they can unlock, getting so many points or earning so much money. So if you go to blukit.com/play and type in this code, you'll be able to join our game. If you go to blukit.com, you might see an option to join a game, and that works fine as well. And I'll type in the code in the chat box. I'm making my screen half right now so that you can also see your actual game when you're playing it. And that way you can also see how it looks like from the teacher's end. So it does look quite a bit different. Okay, we'll wait a little bit longer. What's cool about this game is if the student, let's say device is acting funky and they get kicked out, they can rejoin the game. Or if I press start and someone still wants to join the game, they're more than welcome to do so. So it looks like there might be one more person that's still working on it. But I'm gonna press start in the interest of time. And then if you're still struggling to join us, that's okay. You can just type in this join code and it'll be on the upper right corner of the screen here. When I press start, it will give you an intro of how to play the game. It takes a little bit to get used to, but I think you'll all get the hang of it real quick. I also like each game has its own soundtrack, which is just so nice. Because after so many times of Kahoot or Quizlet, I was just, woof. I wanted different music. So you should see questions about different Disney songs. And once you win, oh, very good. You should get some food items. And then you should be able to feed customers and they'll give you money. So I see Cello already got some money. SK is tied up right there. And you can upgrade. Yes, very good. And it's pretty intuitive. It's pretty easy. My high schoolers love this. It might seem pretty kiddish, but they love this game. But I could see elementary, middle school also doing pretty here as with this game as well. And yeah, as you can see, it does take some time to figure out, like as you get some questions correct, you have to figure out how do you feed the customers. If you click on the customers, that's how you're able to feed them food. When I'm in person with my students, the first few times we play some of these games, I definitely go around and help them out and help them figure out how to play the game. And then at the end, the glory comes to one of our students who does very well. Great job in identifying those Disney songs. I was looking at some of those images. I was like, oof, I don't know if I could do that, but congrats, great job. Awesome. And you clicked play again, for example, you could play the same set and then just pick a different game mode. Like if your students want to do a fishing frenzy and fish for items, or do a crypto hack or factory. And what's nice about these games is that there's a lot of knowledge that goes into them to playing these games, but there's also an element of chance. And sometimes you'll luck out and get a good customer or catch a big fish, but sometimes you won't, which I think is very motivating for students who may struggle more academically, because they're still being pushed to at least try a little bit, because even if they don't get everything right, they still might win, or they still might get second or third place, which is also can be difficult for some of our more very academically strong students. Okay, what are some thoughts, questions, comments, concerns about Blue-Kit that I could potentially address? Or would you all like to see how I create a Blue-Kit rather than search one up? You can type that in the chat box. All right, I'll show you how it's done. Thank you. Thank you for your response. I really appreciate that. Okay, so let's say I click login. I'll just create this click on this pencil box and a pencil that says create. I just hovered over this and I clicked it and it just went for it. So title, I could say iTeach808 for the title of this quiz. Conference 2022. I can make this game be public, playable by everyone, or if, let's say, maybe I was a student and I didn't want anyone else to see my Blue-Kit, I could make it private. Or, oh, this is a new method. Or what you can also do is you can start from scratch, or you can import questions from Quizlet, as well as a spreadsheet. The spreadsheet's new, that just came out this week. Wow. So I will show you guys how I import from Quizlet, and then after that we can even look at Quizlet, because there was a question about that. And oh, here's another question. Yes, this is a free version. I don't like paying for apps when there's a free version. So the plus version, it doesn't seem that much better. As this app becomes more popular, it's possible that they might limit some of the free functions, but that's just unfortunately the nature of some of these apps. So okay, so you guys can see my Quizlet Miss-Was and you can see some of the things that I've created. So let's say I wanted to make a Quizlet and then make a Blue-Kit based off of the biology terms. So what's cool about this is if I wanted to bring all of these biology terms from my oceans unit into my Blue-Kit, I could do that. So if I click Quizlet import quick and easy, it'll walk me through that whole process. So it says find your set. I found it. Next step. And it shows you exactly what button to press to click export. So following these directions, I find the 3 dots here. And then you can see export. So I click on that. Then I click copy text. There we go. Click next step. And then I right click paste all of those terms. I add those questions, and all of these questions all of these terms are now in the Bluka game. And so the definitions are popping up. So everything I had on the right side is popping up. And then it scrambles and picks some of the terms from that Quizlet set. So I don't even have to think of other answers for some of these terms. And sometimes that can be helpful, or sometimes I might want to change something individually so I don't have too confusing similar terms, but that's something I can easily edit. And so if I click edit, I can change some of these terms. I can change the time limit. I can change if I want these answers to be random, in random order or not. I've had some questions about periodic trends, so about the periodic table I mentioned earlier, and I could put an image of a periodic table for students to use, or a diagram, or maybe a mathematics. Maybe if you're doing like geometry, you could put like a mathematics image there. That can be super helpful. Press save, and you can add more questions as you'd like. So it's pretty nice. So yeah, if you press save set, it's now part of my set here. And now I can host it. I can send it out as homework. It's pretty nifty. Let me see. Yep. Okay, I don't see any other questions. There was a question about Quizlet, so I'll do that real quick. So when you make a Quizlet set, what I like about Quizlet is sometimes there's a lot of work that can be done for you. So let's say I make the set, iTeach808. If I enter a term like, let's say, Honolulu, I can write my own definition, or it can give you some suggested definitions that other people have used in the past, right? If I click create, okay, well, let's say all girls school in Honolulu. I'll click create, for example. From here, you can play a Quizlet live game, which is nice because students can then work in groups to work together as a team and define the definitions of those terms. But they can also play games individually if they use this study section. But once you have 6 terms, you can do a Quizlet live game. And because we had more people who wanted to talk about Bamboozle, that's what we'll talk about next. So we have a few more minutes, and we can quickly see the Bamboozle game. I'll show you guys the game that my coworker made. Oh, I put in a broken link. I'll fix that link. Noted. So if you go to Bamboozle, yes, Quizlet is very easy to set up, and then it's nice because you can use those terms then in other games. So you can minimize the amount of work that you need to do, which is something we do so much work for our students. And if there's some way we can make that a little bit faster or reuse some other materials from other teachers, it's super nice. So you can sign up with Bamboozle here, but I'm gonna see if I can open up a game that my coworker sent me that we did with our chemistry students. All right, so I don't expect you guys to know all of this because I expect many of us have not taken a chemistry class in a while. But we can at least see the setup. So here's a Bamboozle my coworker made. Okay, so you can see that there's also questions about elements. There are worth so and so amount of points. if I wanted to edit this and add questions, I could. I could change how many points come with each question. And also write down the answer for that question. And when I press play, I see I can play different game modes. There's Bamboozle Plus, which, as I shared, I don't really like playing, but there's also, I don't like paying for the plus, but we can also have teams, classic version, and it's kind of like almost like a Jeopardy, not exactly. So you'll have one team choose a question, choose a number, and either they'll get a question or they might lose some points. And then team 2 gets to choose a question and may answer these. And this is something I do with my high school sophomores in my high school chemistry class. So, okay, and then you can do all of these. I see we have very few minutes left, so I'll go back to the presentation. If after you want to chat a little bit about Bamboozle, we can. But I'll fix these links to make sure they're working properly. So hopefully you can access them later from the slide set provided for you all. So we talked about this hybrid encouraging movement. A few last final thoughts is I think that I love digital games and resources very much, but I've also come to realization and seen the power of encouraging movement in the classroom. So what I've done recently, which has been wonderful, even for our high schoolers, is finding these questions that I have made for Blue-Kit or Quizlet, and just printing them out and taping them around the classroom for a quick game. And that way, if devices aren't working for some reason, if your Wi-Fi is spotty, that's a great way to gamify and do an easy review. Tape them around campus, maybe even as a scavenger hunt. And trying to use gamification, not just for review, but also for new content as well. For example, if you do a stations activity, there's some really fun ways to be much more hands-on, or creating your own board games even, as students learn new content rather than just keeping the games at the end for review. And I'm a big believer in having students do most of the work and the educational work, but also work in the classroom. So students creating their own games, their own questions that you can use with them, and challenging students to do that is a great way to push our students to higher heights. And breaking up that content and encouraging that movement as we do this, I think is the real game changer. All right. So for conclusion, we've got like 2 minutes left. I know some of us are had a hard time with the Pear Deck. So if you're able to write in the Pear Deck, awesome. But maybe in the group chat, you can share, how do you think you could put this into practice? How can you visualize yourself playing one of these games that we've been able to kind of look at? We spent the most time with Blue-Kit for sure, but. So we can consider this to be kind of like an exit ticket, right? So if you're still thinking about this, that's okay. And all of these games I've shown are free. Pear Deck, the presentation system that I'm looking at, I think is also a great way to incorporate more engagement in the class. And you can have like ABC type questions and have Pictionary even type games as well. And there's some really cool math specific review games I see, but yes, vocabulary and reinforcing concepts, I think that's something I really like doing with these games. But yeah, before we leave, I do want to thank our sponsors again, Sacred Heart Academy, Augustine Educational Foundation, and a quick reminder to make sure to do that survey and hopefully win a prize that we heard about earlier today. Now, and playing on teams make it less intimidating. Yes, there's definitely a lot of these games you can play in teams too, which is really cool. Thank you for sharing that. Yes, very good. Well, it has now been 45 minutes. So if you want to stay back and chat, we can definitely do that. But it's been a pleasure getting to talk share some of these games with you and talk about gamification. And I hope you'll be able to use some of this in your classrooms in the future.
Mahalo to Gosha and for everyone's participation. We hope you'll find this session helpful and make some valuable connections. Please help us by completing the survey on iTeach808's website. If you complete the survey by February 4th, you will be entered to win one of $25 gift cards. Thank you so much for being here today. And I don't think there's any other sessions for me to invite you to, so I just hope you have a wonderful night.